Hey, what's up guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. Sorry it's been a while since the last video we put out on YouTube, but we got into the summer. I am trying to enjoy some of my early summertime and vacation time while I have it. Once we get back into July, after July 4th, we get back to pretty much full-time lifting and running and installing and getting ready for the season, and then we start practice July 29th. So for me, basically once we get past July 4th, summer's kind of over, so I am making sure that I use the month of June to enjoy a little bit of downtime and some free time and go on some vacations and enjoy a little bit of time with my family and make sure that I get away from football a little bit while I have the opportunity. Today's also Father's Day, so to all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. All right, enjoy the day with your family and your kids, all right, and make sure you understand the role that you play in people's lives as a dad, all right, and make sure you appreciate that role because not everybody gets to play it. It's also Sunday of the U.S. Open, all right, so if you're an avid golf fan or a golf nut like I am, you'll appreciate Sunday of the U.S. Open, playing on a great course at Pebble Beach, and it's set up really good this year and haven't been a lot of complaints about it, so should set up for a great final U.S. Open day, so make sure you enjoy that. All right, I thought today I would go out and do a video on training hybrid players. Hybrid players and hybrid defenses have become all the rage lately with trying to combat the new age spread, RPO, tempo offenses, and I get a little bit upset at myself from a marketing standpoint because this is something I've been doing for about 8 or 9 years now, and when I started doing it 8 or 9 years ago, some of my friends that were more traditionalists or more old school in theory said you can't do it. All right, you can't play those guys in hybrid roles. You need to have a defined Sam linebacker. You need to have a defined field safety. You need to have a defined weak side safety, rover, whip, whatever you want to call him, and he needs to be to the boundary. And you need to give these kids roles that they can play. And what happened to us was about 9 or 10 years ago, we got into a situation in our 3-safety defense and in our 4-2-5 structure where a team traded and shifted and motioned us a bunch, and they got us back to our away side calls, to our away side players. They got their strength, whether it be tight end flanker or whatever it was going on. They shifted, traded, motioned us to where they got our away side players in a position to be on the strong side, and they got our read side players in a position to be on the away side. And they got us into situations where we couldn't play the coverages we wanted to play because we had never trained our away side players to be read side players, and we had never trained our read side players to be away side players, so we had to check into a coverage that both sides could play, and it wasn't the coverage we wanted to play based on the personnel, and we got beat up that night on defense. And I started thinking to myself, I don't want the offense to be able to dictate that just because I can only set my players a certain way. I don't want the offense to understand that if they trade, shift, or motion me and they get me back to where their strength is to the side that I have my boundary players or weak side players, however you want to look at it, I have to check into certain coverages. So I started thinking to myself, well, I can't, every time they trade, shift, motion, I can't run my guys all over the place to get lined up. So what am I going to do? So the thought that came into my mind was, what if I just played with left and right side players and I taught them how to be strong and weak side players? And of course, the old school traditionalist guys said, no, you can't do that. You need to give them defined roles. You need to give them set things that they can do. And I said, well, I'm going to do it anyway because that's the way I roll. That's the way I operate. If I get an idea in my head that I like and something that I feel is going to benefit my program, I'm going to do it. And if it fails, I'll go back and say, you guys are right. And if it succeeds, I'll just keep moving on and saying, hey, I thought I could do it, no big deal. All right, so I went ahead and started training left and right side players. A little bit mad at myself from a marketing standpoint because now, at least last year or the last 2 years, all you've heard about is hybrid defenses, hybrid players. All right, name that comes to mind is a guy like Jay Bateman, who was a defensive coordinator at Army that's now at North Carolina. Did a great job against Oklahoma last year. People started recognizing him for what he does, and all of a sudden they started seeing he was playing guys in multiple roles. He was playing guys that were linebackers slash safeties, and guys that were safety slash corners, and guys that were ends slash linebackers. And they were playing, hybrid versions of a 3-4 and a 3-3 stack. And I kind of get mad because I missed my marketing call because we were doing this 8 or 9 years ago. And I wasn't doing it because I thought it was going to be the next trend to stop spread tempo RPO teams. I was doing it because I thought it was best for our kids because I got tired of our kids being put in a situation where they couldn't do the things we needed them to do. And then as a coach, I'm saying, well, why don't you understand how to do that? And he said, well, coach, you never told me how to be on the trip side. How can I play that coverage? And then they come to the sideline, they go, yeah, you're right. You know, so I got to a point where I wanted to train guys to be more hybrid players. I felt like my ability to coach them and teach them all the things that they needed to know, I felt like I had confidence in my ability to do that. I felt like if I, you know, just kind of switched how we did some things in practice, that I could get that done. But I really honestly felt like it would help us when teams started to trade shift motion, because when they got us with a tight end trade or a motion, those guys that were on the away side were also guys that were able to play read side coverages. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk a little bit about training hybrid players and the things you need to think about in practice plans and coaching, and how those players are going to play different roles. So how you have to be able to incorporate those things into practice and understand what they need to understand. All right, so I've got 3x1 drawn up here. All right, and before I get into that with the 3x1 setting, as always, want to give a shout out to our sponsors of our site here. All right, you've got MaxOne, which is an app that is streamlining communication, organization, and workouts into one setting, to where you can have your calendar and the organization of everything you got going on in the app, and then you could have a communication system via text message or email within the app, and then you could also have workouts that players are doing on their phone, so they can see the workouts, they can see demonstrations of the workouts. If they go out of town, they could use their phone and still be able to do the workouts because the workout is right on their phone. All right, so check out MaxOne app. We have GameStrat, which is sideline replay system that we use. It is the #1 most reliable, most affordable sideline replay system out there. Done a really good job in the last year getting out in the mainstream. Done a really good job with marketing and how they market to get into the bigger areas in states in the United States, because they're a company from Canada, be able to get into some of the bigger areas playing football and get themselves in those areas so people could see the product and see them using the product, and then how they pitch the product on social media. All right, has been phenomenal. So check out GameStrat. All right, Defensive Coordinator 1. It's an app developed by a defensive coordinator in Texas. Allows you to use real-time in-game data to make adjustments. So a lot of times we'd go into games and we'd have our tendency sheets and our call sheets, and we'd say, all right, this team is mostly this personnel, and on first down they like to do this, and they throw the ball this amount of times, and they like to use on 3rd and short this personnel group, and they like to run the ball to the boundary. And then you get into the game and you find out that they're not really doing that, and you had all your calls set up based on what they were going to do, and now you find out that they're not doing that, and now you got to try and match your calls up to say, okay, what do we like against this? What do we like against that? With this app, you're now using the real in-game live data to spit back out to you all the information that you need to go ahead and look and say, hey, all right, this call was really good against this set, but not good against this set, so don't get rid of the call. In the old days with gut feeling, I would make a call, and if it got torched, my gut would tell me not to go back to that call. Well, maybe that call only got torched because it wasn't good against a certain personnel group, but earlier in the game I called it against a different personnel group or a different formation or on a different down and distance, and it was actually a really good call. So this allows you to use all your real-time in-game data, all right, to make yourself adjustments, make in-game adjustments, make things that instead of using so much the gut, now you're using live data instead of the old-fashioned way of charting it by hand. It's going right into a system, spitting right out, and now you know what you've been calling, what they've been running, and how to make those adjustments. So check out Defensive Coordinator 1. All right, JustPlay is system I use for my software, my play design, when I'm doing website stuff, speaking at clinics, any presentations I do. That's the playbook software that I use to design stuff. I don't have a playbook with my team. I know that's probably a little bit crazy for some people, but I'm not a playbook guy. I don't use playbooks. That's not the way I teach. I don't want to teach that way. In today's day and age, with kids leaving and going to 3 high schools in 4 years, I don't want my playbook out there anyway, so that's not who I am. It's not what I do. But I will start using some of their features to quiz our guys and have game plans where the kids have to take tests based on the game plans and answer questions inside the software on the computer. So now you know that the kid understands the game plan or he doesn't. Because a lot of times in the past, you'd be teaching kids and you'd say, hey, you got that? We're going to do 3x1. All right, what are our 3x1 checks? You got it? Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. And a lot of times they don't really understand it. They don't have it. They just yes, sir you because they don't want you talking to them anymore. Or they're afraid you might find out that they don't have it. So they just go, yes, coach, I got it. Yeah, coach. So now you get to give them a quiz, have them take the quiz, and now you can see who answers questions correctly, who answers questions incorrectly, and then you can take a broad look at, hey, our guys really don't understand the tendencies this week, or our guys really don't understand the blitz packages this week, and you could do a better job during the week spending more time teaching the things that your kids aren't understanding. All right, and as always, our title sponsor, all right, Dome Hats. Got my Dome hat on here. Company run by former Florida Gator football players. All right, they do a great job with coaches. They want to help coaches across the country. All right, local company here in Jacksonville, but their goal is they want to help every sport in every state, every staff. They know that not every sport wears hats as part of the uniform, but they know that every sport uses hats as part of their culture, part of their marketing. They use hats for their staff. They use hats for players. They use hats for parents. All right, they know that there's a lot of sports out there where the hat is part of your uniform. So Dome wants to be in every state, every sport, every staff. It's run by former football players, so they understand our limitations, they understand our needs, and they want to be out there helping. All right, and the great thing about it is they're down to earth, great guys that have been where we have been, and they understand what we're going through. So check them out at www.domeheadwear.co. All right, and check them out on social media. All right, and check out some of the promos they got going on right now. They got some really good deals going on that I don't think you can pass up. So check out our buddies at Dome Hats. All right, so today we're going to talk about hybrid players, how you got to train hybrid players. We're going to talk about why we do it. So I've got a 3x1 set drawn up right now. Okay, because it's, in my opinion, it's the easiest way I think that you can discuss the hybrid situation and how players' roles change and what players need to know to be in this type of system. So in brown, I've got circled up, all right, left corner, left safety, all right, and then our stack, all right, linebacker, and then I've got our right ram back, our right safety, and our right corner. The reason I got them circled in brown is those are the 6 guys right now, all right, that are going to be possibly on the read side or the away side. So because I have trips left drawn up to the defense, trips right from the offense, the left side of my defense now becomes, all right, the read side. The free safety travels back and forth. That's why he's not circled. Okay, he's a guy that's still going to travel, but the other 10 players on my defense do not move. They never travel. So they become hybrid players because they're read side players, they're away side players. If we run certain pressures, this end might be he might be a 2-gap long stick end, he might be an outside contain end. All right, so they don't move, so they have to be able to understand the front side of pressures, the back side of pressures, front side of coverages, back side of coverages. Okay, and that's where the hybrid part comes in. You're training them to be strong side and weak side players. All right, so right now with the left corner, left safety, and the lion, all right, and the free safety declaring that, we are playing our standard 3x1 check, which we call mix, which means we're playing man on number 1, and then we're going to play 2 read on number 2 and 3 with the left safety and the free safety, okay, and then our linebacker, okay, our linebacker here, all right, is what we would call, all right, a palms dropper. All right, and then if the back was set to the strong side, our mic would become, all right, what we would call our 3 dropper. Now, when we talk in terms of that, what we're talking about is how we teach 2 read palms coverage to standard 2x2 settings. All right, so if on the bottom here, if you just stay with me, if I drew up 2 receivers on the bottom here, and I drew up, all right, a quarterback and a running back, okay? When we play 2 read, we would have a corner, a high safety, we would have a low safety, and then we would have a guy that is what we would call a 3 dropper. Why? Because there's a number 1 receiver, a number 2 receiver, and a number 3 receiver, okay? So this would be our palms dropper, and this would be what we would call our 3 dropper, okay? When we go to 3x1 sets, we know, all right, that they have actually 3 receivers out here, and his back here makes himself a number 4 strong. We understand that, okay? But when we go to teach our kids, one of the things we like to do is we like to make things, all right, as similar as possible to other theories. So because we play man on number 1 in trips, if we eliminated number 1 from the equation because he's played man and we don't count him in any of our pattern match, they only have 3 receivers left. So for argument's sake, I could come back to our kids and I could say, listen, take 1 out. He doesn't count because we're playing a man, and now this set becomes number 1, number 2, and number 3. So in order for us to play 2 read to a 1, a 2, and a 3, we need a corner, a safety. Now, I know you're looking and go, Coach, that's a safety. He's playing the role of a corner in this defense. That's part of the hybrid term. Corner, safety, palms dropper, 3 drop. So now, these 1, 2, 3, 4 players have been recreated into coverage by 1, 2, 3, 4. So once I do that, I am now playing the same defense that I played to 2 removed. I'm playing it to trips by Xing out the number 1 receiver and playing man-to-man. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you can follow that. If not, follow some other videos on how we play 2 read and then figure out that this is 2 read without the number 1 receiver because we're playing him man-to-man and we're not counting him in the pattern match. So because we're playing a man-to-man and not counting him in the pattern match, we're now dealing with a 1, 2, 3 receiver set. Okay? So what that does is that now, all right, leaves us in a situation where, all right, we play our normal palms defense, but the difference is we now have 2 safeties playing the palms part of the coverage. Okay? So this left safety now has to understand how a corner thinks in 2 read palms defense. That's part of the hybrid term. That kid is a hybrid player. He has different roles that he has to understand how to do. I have to choose a body type that can do the things that I need him to do. Okay? Because what's going to happen now for that left safety, okay, is that left safety is going to have to understand, in our terminology, he's going to have to understand how to be a low palms dropper. He's going to have to understand how to play, all right, the high part of palms. Okay? He's going to have to understand how to play the corners role, all right, in palms. So he's got multiple things that I have to teach him. Okay? He may be down playing the palms drop with the free safety behind him in a 2x2 set. He may be away from the free safety in a 2x2 set, all right, and he may be asked to play the high part of palms. He may be in this mix setting where he's asked to play the corners role in 2 read. So even though we're playing 2 reader palms, he's got 3 different things that he's playing in 2 reader palms. So what we have to understand is we've got to be able to tell him, and we've got to be able to word it for him to say, all right, look, you're playing palms, you're playing the high part of palms, you're playing the corner part of palms. So we've got to come up with different terminology to teach him, all right, exactly when and where he's playing, all right, what he's playing in palms coverage. Now, the smart football player is going to understand when he's playing which one. He's going to understand when he's high over 2 what he's playing. He's going to understand, all right, in trips, all right, when he's outside of the literal 2 and 3, which is now outside the 1, all right, in this drawing because I have eliminated their number 1. He's going to understand that when he's tilted with his butt to the sideline, the way we teach him to play that technique, he's going to understand how to play that technique tilted. He's going to understand how to play the technique high, and he's going to understand how to play the technique low. Okay? So he's going to understand how to play the palms drop, the high palms drop, and the corner drop. Now, a lot of people are going to look at that and say that's too confusing. We don't want to do it. The site says play fast football. Yeah, the site says play fast football because in order for me to teach him these extra things, I'm eliminating all the other things that he would have to do. I'm eliminating him having to worry about, all right, being on a side that he's never been on and not being able to play that coverage. I'm eliminating him having to worry about getting shifted trade or motion into a position that he's not comfortable playing because he's never seen it before. All right, so I'm throwing a few more things at him so that in the long run, in the game plan, I make his job a little bit easier because he can handle everything that he's going to see. So it's a trade-off. All right, I'm asking him to do a few things more, making him a hybrid player so that he can handle all the scenarios in the game he needs to handle so that in order to get back to the play fast moniker, when they come out in 22, 12, 11, 10, empty, I can play all those things without making changes or substitutions on the field. So I can get back to the play fast moniker without having to make changes because all the kids on the field, they can play nickel, dime, all right? They can do whatever I need to do, you know, now, with the exception of maybe goal line body types and putting bigger body types. We're talking 20 to 20 football that's being played, all right, in the middle of the field with teams that are playing tempo and not making personnel changes. I can now use my same 11 guys on the field to play defense, all right, because I'm teaching them and training them as hybrid players. So they are now in a position that they can be to the trip side, to the single side. They can be a high palms player or a low palms player. They can play the position of corner, all right, versus trips in a 3-by-1 set. All right, so what does that mean for you as a coach? That means that you have to find time in practice to make sure that this kid plays all 3 spots. You control that as a coach. That's why I don't mind teaching this kid a couple extra things, because I just got to make my practice plan a little bit different and realize that, hey, when we go to do palm drills, which we're going to do almost every day, when we do 2-read, all right, when we set up a 2-read drill, okay, if I set up a 2-read drill with our players and I put 2 receivers out there and a running back and a quarterback, and I take our defense, I say, all right, guys, we need a corner, a high safety, a low safety, and a linebacker to do this drill. All right? This kid right here and that coach has to be able to rotate him to play all 3 of those spots in that drill. That kid's got to understand how to play all 3 spots, and he's got to be given the reps in the drill to play all 3 spots. Why? Because he's going to be asked to play all 3 spots in a game. To me, that's coaching. You understand that. You know the drill. So when you get the palms, make sure your safeties coach is rotating that kid once he's been taught. Don't put him in until he's been taught how to play him. But once he's been taught how to play him, you make sure that he's getting proper rotation. Don't leave it up to the kid. All right? That's you as a coach understanding that you have to play him in low palms, high palms, and the corner spot. To me, that's not difficult as a coach. Difficult part might be teaching it. If you're not comfortable teaching it, then you probably don't want to play a hybrid style defense. But if you're comfortable teaching it, now you just got to be comfortable putting it into your practice plan to say, hey, need 5 extra minutes in palms because we have guys that got to rotate through multiple spots. Or your individual coach has to do it. All right, if you have a safeties coach, maybe he has to do it with just his safeties in Indy to say, hey, look, we need more work on playing the corner part in mix. So let's work on that. Okay? So it's just a matter of now as a coach understanding how training hybrid players is going to affect your practice plan. All right? You have to understand that it affects your practice plan because now those hybrid players have to be given a chance to play the hybrid role. So you might have to take that standard practice plan that a lot of coaches like to copy and paste from 2009 and go out the first day and change the date to August 1st and go, all right, guys, here's what we do in practice. All right, there's a lot of great coaches like that. There's a lot of great guys that they have their practices and their installs from 1998 and they just change the date and they run it. Not a problem. All right, if that's the way you do it. A lot of good teams, a lot of good coaches. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being detail-orientated and sticking to a plan. If you're going to train hybrid players, you're going to have to adjust your practice plans around, and you got to be flexible with how you're doing your practice plans because your practice plans kind of become hybrid practice plans now. You've got to deal with training hybrid players. All right? This linebacker that's on the left side right now, okay, he is playing what I call the palms drop, all right, which means 2 doesn't cross his face, 3 doesn't out-leverage him. All right, so again, if you X out the number 1 receiver because we're playing a man and he's not in our pattern match, if that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3, he's got to understand, try not to let 2 cross my face, try not to let 3 out-leverage me. Okay? My mic becomes the 3 dropper to 4 strong. All right, again, I know there's 4 receivers there. Eliminate 1 of them because you're playing a man, he doesn't count in the pattern match. There's only 3 left. So my mic now needs to know, with 3 out, we're going to get a push, we're going to get a push, I'm the 3 dropper. My mic needs to know if 3 tries to go vertical, I'm the 3 vertical player. It goes right back to what we teach every day when we start with our quarters toolbox and we go to our 2-read system. Okay? So my linebacker has to be able to understand how to play palms, but at the same time, all right, at the same time, my linebacker, all right, may become, for us, in our 3-3 stack with how we do it, if the free safety is on this side and the left safety is down, all right, for us, my linebacker now becomes a 3 dropper and my left safety becomes the palms drop. So my linebacker has to be able to play palms and he's got to be able to play the 3 drop while he's on the read side. So I have to be able to train him how to play the palms part, 2 doesn't cross my face, 3 doesn't out-leverage me, curl pull player, drop to the curl until something pulls you to the flat. All right, and then I also have to train him how to be the 3 dropper, which means he's a hook pull player, which means he's got 3 vertical. If 3 pushes, I got to find a new 3 coming in. I've got to teach him how to do both of those things. I've got to teach him to be a hybrid player. Now on the away side right now, all right, we've got the ram, the right safety, and the right corner. They've got to be able to play, all right, the, generically speaking, 4 terms we use, all right, on the cut or the away side. They've got to be able to play sky coverage, cloud coverage, hard coverage, hawk coverage, right? So my ram linebacker has to know where he fits in sky, where he fits in cloud, where he fits in hard, where he fits in hawk coverage. My right corner has to know how to play sky, cloud, hard, and hawk. Okay? My right safety has to know how to play sky, cloud, hard, and hawk because they are on the away side of the coverage. Okay? Now, to me, the beauty of the defense that some people are going to look at, all right, and they're going to look at it and say, well, that's actually the confusing part of the defense, and that's not, all right, play fast football. That's just confusing everything. The beauty of the defense to me, all right, and what we've had a lot of success with our kids is if you came up and trips the other way, so if you came up with trips over there, all right, my right corner would become the man player. My right safety would become the corner's part in palms. My free safety still goes to that side to declare the strength. All right. My end, anchor, and nose never change. My ram, Mike, and lion don't change. Sides. Now the beauty in the defense is you now make these guys, they are now read side players. And now all of a sudden the left corner, the lion, and the left safety are away side players. So now with the formation switched, okay, now we've got it to where the right side are read side and the left side are away side. So now all of a sudden on the left side they got to be able to play sky, cloud, hard, and hawk. And these kids have to be able to play the mixed version of coverage. All right, so now again, he's the 3 dropper. All right, this is the palms dropper. This is technically the corner in 2 read. This is technically the high palms player. All right, and this is X'd out because we're playing a man-to-man. Don't count him in a pattern match. All right, so now the guys that were on the away side have to be able to play read side coverages. The guys that were on the read side have to play away side coverages. Okay, so now when you're looking at that and you're saying, well, coach, that's too much. Okay, that's not play fast football. That's confusing. All right, maybe at first it's confusing, but once you get it taught the way you want to teach it, here's the greatest thing about it. They can't shift or trade me and get me into settings that my kids aren't comfortable with. All right, once they shift or trade me, all these kids know how to play read side coverages. All these kids know how to play away side coverages. The Mike for us is kind of a Swiss Army knife in a way. He's kind of an extra player in coverage. We need him in some trips coverages. We need him if they change the back in 2x2. But most of the time we don't need him. He becomes a spy lurker. He's my 4th add-on rusher based on what the quarterback does. And we're playing our base defense with the other 7 guys around him. So by playing a hybrid system and by playing left and right side players, we're training guys to handle everything they may see in a game. All right? We're not putting them to a side and saying, hey, we always want you to be to the weak side. We always want you to be to the field. All right? That's a great way to play defense, and it still is to this day. But what ends up happening is you get those kids in some problems when you set them that way, and the offense trades and shifts and motions, and now all of a sudden you're on the sideline going, well, I can't play that set the way I want to play because that kid doesn't know how to play. So by making them hybrid players, you're doing more of your work preseason and in the summer to teach a few extra things, but on the field you're giving your kid more answers. All right, you're putting your kids in a situation to have more answers, all right, to the formations and the sets that they're seeing, and the reason you're doing that is because you're teaching them to be on both sides. Now, this doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody wants to do this. Not everybody wants the burden of teaching read side and away side coverages to a kid. There's not a lot of people who like taking a safety and saying, all right, look, you got to play high palms, low palms, and you got to be able to play how the corner plays with your ass to the sideline, shuffling out and reading. All right, I get that. Okay, and if it's not for you, don't play it. But if you're looking to play a 3-safety system and you're looking to play more of a hybrid defense, understand what you need to do to play a hybrid defense. Understand now that in practice, I've got to go above and beyond, okay, all right, with this ram backer and this linebacker, okay, I got to go above and beyond what I'm teaching them because they're not always going to see the same picture, okay? Now, the one thing for us that we keep almost, and this is 100% honest, I'm not lying, our run fits don't change in any of these looks. So, whether I keep the lion on the weak side and ask him to play a part of coverage, or I have the ram to the trip side, they both have the same run fits that they would on the other side. All right, my 6 in the box, their run fits in the box, those 6 almost never change. Okay, and that is 100% honest. I'd love to tell you if you want to ask me at a different point in time how we do it within our coverages. Those 6 don't change their run fits. So even though I'm asking them to do some more things in coverage, the one thing I don't ask them to do is do extra things in run fits because that's where I think you'll get your ass in a lot of trouble. Because half the time in coverage, even if your guys blow it, they're not good enough to find it. All right, but in the run game, they'll find that real quick in high school. So we make our run fits as easy as possible so that the thinking that we ask these kids to do is in the coverage part. Okay? And then like any other coach, guys, I'm not dumb. Once I figure out the things that they can't do, I throw them out. If we have certain kids that can't do all that, we just get rid of it and say, all right, look, on the read side, you can only play 2 coverages. On the away side, you can only play 2 coverages. We went one season on the away side where we only played 1 coverage because it was all we could play. We took all these things out, all right, and we said, all right, look, if you get a single receiver, that's the only coverage you can play. You can't make any other call. Because our kids couldn't play it. So why screw something up if they can't play it? Make the offense beat you. All right, so we try to teach all of our players how to be hybrid players. Incorporate it into your practice plan. I know that I've got to teach. I did linebackers last year. I know that I got to teach this kid to be on the read side and the away side. I know all the versions of coverage I got to teach him. So when I make my practice plan up, I know the drills and the things I need to make sure he understands it. When I used to do safeties, I used to make sure that I understand these down safeties. They better know how to play all the version of palms. They got to play palms down. They got to play palms high. They got to play palms as the corner or the low trap, low cut part of it. I've got to be able to teach them all that. Okay, so the new buzzword. Okay, hybrid defenses are hybrid players. I am a firm believer in it. I think it is good for today's football. I think it is good for up-tempo. I think it is good for teams that don't change personnel. Okay, but I will tell you this. As a coach, if you're going to play hybrid players, you better understand how much work you have to do to be ready to train those hybrid players. All right, all the pictures that you got to present to those players to be able to train. You don't just wake up magically one day and say, we're playing with hybrid players, roll them out on the field because they're good athletes and they're going to get it. You have to work diligently and very, very